Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Tien-Yin Chou, or call me Jimmy, from Taiwan, and I'm honored to serve as a lecturer for this afternoon's course. It's about the GIS, the Geospatial Information Technology. This afternoon, I'm going to talk about the intelligent city, or we call it smart city, and also the disaster warning things. Since the last time I discussed about some of disaster management, so today in the lecture I'm going to talk about a disaster warning issue. My name is Tien-Yin Chou. I'm the Dean of the College of Construction and Development in Fengyang University, and I'm also serve as a Director General of the GIS Research Center in the Fengyang University. This research center is one of the largest specialized in the GIS research in the entire nationwide. So today, this afternoon, the outline session is about the disaster warning and also about the intelligent city. So I will start my lecture. So the first session is about the disaster warning thing. I'm going to discuss about some of the comprehensive landslide hazards. In Taiwan, there are lots of this kind of landslides. Let me see if I can turn the voice a little down. Yeah, okay. Okay, so I'm going to discuss about some of disaster things. Like this one you're seeing in the screen. This is in the year 2012. This is one of the typhoon events. It caused a very high damage by the debris flow. So this is kind of things happened as a debris flow. And also, this is also one of the slope land debris flow. So you can see the entire bridge and all the roads being destroyed because of the phenomenon from the weather and also from the damage due to the typhoon event. And also each year, Taiwan suffered by different kind of typhoon. And as I mentioned about, we do have a lot of different kind of nature disaster happened each year. One thing is the earthquake. Another one is a typhoon. So like now you can see on the screen, this is also one of the incident by the entire debris flow one. So that's happened just last year, even though it's not a very serious, very high precipitation amount, but it caused a lot of damage, especially for local village people and also for the entire area. And this is also in Taiwan, there has been identified as there are more than 1,700 potential high risk of the debris flow, we say Wild Creek. And also it has been identified as in Taiwan for the entire nationwide, there are more than 280, we call that as a large scale landslide potential area. So this is one of the large scale landslide potential area has been happened for a very serious landslide just last year in Taoyuan County. So in Taiwan, among those 280, the government trying very hard to try to design a good threshold for those 280 potential high risk of the large scale landslide. Here we say large scale landslide because in Taiwan, the government has decided to define what called by the large scale landslide means if the entire landslide area is higher than 10 hectares, or the landslide depth is over 10 meter, over or there are 100,000 cubic meter of the material, like the soil and the gravel and all the things. They're over 100,000 cubic meter. So these are the three rules can be defined as large scale landslide potential area. So in Taiwan, it has been identified as 286 large-scale landslide disaster potential area. So this is one of the area. So the government in Taiwan is trying to focus on the first 86 of them and try to manage about 33 of them for in this the first 5-year period. So they got some kind of funding support, and they assign different kind of construction company and also the researchers or university try to cope with the potential landslide potential area to happen any kind of disaster. So this is one of the sites that has been identified as a large-scale landslide potential area, and which has been happened for a very serious landslide just last year. And also for the emergency evacuation and also the services things, as you can see from the screen, this kind of things really happen in Taiwan each year. So in Taiwan, each year we suffer by the typhoon, and also we have so many different kind of earthquake. Earthquake will create a very serious landslide most oftenly. So these kind of things happened a lot during the typhoon season, or just after a very serious earthquake. Then there were typhoon. It caused very, very high damage to all the local people. So in Taiwan, the government worked with very close with the university, trying to define what kind of threshold, what kind of standard operation process, which we say SOP, to identify what kind of hazard mapping things we will need, like potential debris flow, the wild creek. So it has been identified as 1,726 now for the wild creeks. And also during those wild creek area, how many residents live the downstream area, just downstream of those wild creek, and also about the size of the village and the size of the wild creek. And the government tried to use a lot of different kind of material, which include different kind of land use information, and like the slope and some other lots of different kind of equation, trying to see if there are any kind of good way, also trying to build some kind of engineering construction, trying to prevent this kind of potential risk of the high risk of the large scale landslide area. So either the check dams or safe dam, there's lots of different kind of engineering construction has been proposed in Taiwan and has been implemented in those kind of area. And also a lot of different kind of things, like even for the local village people, they have to organize a kind of, we say, self-rescue volunteer team in all the villages, because during the typhoon season, all the people who live in this village, they know exactly very well about all the kind of information of their own village. So they have to organize as a volunteer before the typhoon season. And also the government trying to make the early warning system. So in Taiwan, for debris flow, it has been already designed a very good framework of the debris flow. So it depends on each site's location aspect and the amount of potential material, and also the slope and the land cover, vegetation type, all the information. Then the government set up some kind of early warning threshold as the accumulated precipitation and also the rainfall intensity, which means if the rainfall intensity is higher than a certain amount in certain village, or the cumulative rainfall amount is higher than a certain amount, then the government will send out some kind of warning system. And once the warning system being sent out, then that's all the standard operation process is going to, that village And also, once the entire village has been assigned as it's already over the threshold of the potential debris flow happened, then the entire village people has to be evacuated into a safety shelter. So this is how the entire things being worked out very closely in Taiwan, and which has been very successful for the past many, many years, because after the 20 years ago, there was a very serious, we say September 21st, the Chih-Kuei earthquake. After that one, there has been several typhoons after that year. So after Chih-Kuei earthquake in 1999, 2000 and 2001 and 2002, continuously for 3 years, there has been several very serious typhoons, and which caused a lot of damage, a lot of even for the casualty of the local village people. So after that, the government trying to set up this kind of framework and work together with the university, try to set up a different kind of threshold for each village. So in Taiwan, each village does have different kind of threshold for the evacuation, or for some kind of, we say, if the rainfall prediction by the Central Weather Bureau saying 6 hours ago or 12 hours ago or 24 hours ago is over a certain kind of threshold, then the entire village has to be on certain kind of alert. And if the real precipitation is over the threshold, then they have to go to the safety shelter. So unable to really perform those kind of standard operation process, government spend a lot of budget in build some kind of sensor around those kind of wild creek. So in Taiwan, in those high mountain, high elevation mountains, or in some slope land, there has been already designed a lot of different kind of sensors being installed, and some of the stations has been set up in those kind of slope land. And also in Taiwan, we do have a weight-based decision support system, which we follow the US core FEMA. So in Taiwan, we still follow as a FEMA. So, and also there are real-time rainfall data source. So the rainfall data source, it can receive every 10 minutes. It's counting the real precipitation amount. So in Taiwan, one of the bureau in charge of the slope land, which called Soil Water Conservation Bureau, has already set up 507 auto rain gauge. It's automatically it can refract and also send the signal back. All this kind of automatically rain gauge has been set up along the Wild Creek. And also there are 40 on-site monitoring stations, and includes lots of the CCTV camera, wire sensor, geophone, and lots of some other kind of information, even for the soil moisture. All those kind of information has been set up in Taiwan, and thousands of those sensors reflects back all the information. So this kind of web-based decision support system has to receive all the information and has to be able to count all the information and to make good decision support for the manager or for the commander of this kind of emergency operating center. So in each different scale of the emergency operating center, there always been one commander. So that commander has to decide if this village people, they need to go to the shelter or they need to do something. So he has to follow those kind of suggestions automatically by each local site, because of all the rainfall information can be predicted by the weather center, Central Weather Bureau. And Central Weather Bureau in Taiwan, they use a QP sound as a radar system. In Taiwan, it has been built for many years. So those kind of information, including some of the, so for example, like the NOAA those kind of satellite information and also some information from other country, like from the US, from Japan, even from the mainland China. So the Central Weather Bureau, they will announce some kind of prediction for rainfall, and it can be very, very small scale, small up to each village. So each village will receive a kind of prediction, predicted rainfall amount for the next 6 hour, next 12 hour, and next 24 hour. And we do have the real-time sensors, just like you're seeing on the screen on the right-hand side. So those kind of sensor can also reflect real-time information directly back for all the high potential, high risk of the debris flow potential area or the large-scale landslide potential high-risk area. So using all those thousands of sensors, the emergency operating sensors center, they can receive all the sensors and they got the prediction amount from the Central Weather Bureau. Then the commander would need to make the final decision to either send out the evacuation demand to the local village people and the local city or county and also the local department of fire. So they have to send people and all the vehicle to the local village and to assist them to evacuate to some kind of safety shelter to avoid any kind of possible event will happen after 6 hours. So this has been a very serious task for the emergency operating center among different levels in Taiwan. And so in Taiwan, the government depends very, very highly on the rainfall forecast. So rainfall forecast nowadays from the Central Weather Bureau, there's a kind of rainfall forecasting. They will forecast about 6 hour, 12 hour, 18 hour, 30 hour. So it depends on different kind of satellite information, different kind of prediction model, and also work together with international organization in lots of different countries. So we'll come together. And also the government use the rainfall triggering index. They say about the rainfall intensity and also plus the effective cumulative rainfall amount. So which is the predicted things. So use the predicted rainfall amount as the threshold and check with the real rainfall amount. So the red one, the real rainfall amount is based on the sensors from all the on-site sensors. So every on-site sensor reflect the real rainfall amount is already at the threshold of the predicted rainfall amount is higher than the threshold, then it's a red warning. So if the red warning sent out, as I mentioned about, the commander would need to make the final decision as these village people has to go to the shelter to avoid any kind of possible damage or possible losses. So this kind of standard operation process has been demonstrated to be very successful to avoid any kind of casualty. Just after the very serious Chi-Kuei earthquake and after the several 2 and 3 years of the typhoon event. So this kind of standard operation process, it depends on a lot of this kind of standard operation process and making the threshold for each different village. It needs some kind of model, and also it needs experts' knowledge. So it's always some kind of concord meeting among those expertise. So those experts, they provide their knowledge and also their background, and also analyzed by different kind of model and different kind of historical information, then finally can make certain kind of threshold. And also the government can be following the kind of threshold for each different village. Each different village will have different threshold. So then it can assign those kind of pre-warning signal to the different level of the emergency operating centers. So that commander then can follow those standard operation process to make his final decision as this entire village has to be evacuated or not. So this kind of system has been worked out for many years in Taiwan. So as a yellow warning, which is by the predicted rainfall, and also the real rainfall, if it's over the predicted, if it already reached the predicted threshold, then that's the red warning. So when it's red warning, the commander most often will send out the evacuation command to the local village, and or the county and different city will join the evacuation action and to assist the local village people to really evacuate to some kind of safety shelter for a while. So this has been a kind of enforcement into the local village. So not only for the debris flow, but also in Taiwan, because we have very serious debris flow, but also another one is a large-scale landslide. Mostly it will cause a lot of different kind of damages. So in Taiwan, those kind of large-scale landslides, as I mentioned about, has been identified using different kind of like surveying technology, such as LiDAR and also some other geological surveying facilities assist. So like the slope, like some other information, the DSM, the DEM, those kind of information, and to identify as a potential high risk of the large-scale landslide hazard area. So, and also not only the LiDAR, but also the INSAR can also count to analyze if the risk analysis for this entire area is already over some kind of, also some kind of threshold. So if the entire area is over some kind of threshold, is identified as a large-scale potential high risk of the landslide hazard area. So using those kind of high-risk landslide hazard, the government has to do something before. So the government has to put some kind of engineering construction facility, like some kind of drainage, some kind of check dam, to prevent the possible landslide hazard. And also for lots of evacuation drill has to be practiced among the village people, and also some of the, we say, resilience. So those kind of village will need to build up a better resilience to cope with the possible damage because of the large-scale landslide hazard happening. And also the government trying to put a different kind of monitoring facilities in those large-scale high landslide hazard area. Lots of different kind of sensors. So in Taiwan, not only the high risk of the potential debris flow area, but also the large-scale landslide hazard area also has been put a lot of different kind of sensors and use different kind of criteria. As this one, you can check it. It's different with the debris flow potential area SOP, because this is for the large-scale landslide hazard area. So which has probably can cause much higher damage than the Wild Creek debris flow. So next one is talk about the monitoring application. As I mentioned about, for those kind of monitoring application, we need to use a lot of different kind of sensors. And using those kind of sensors nowadays has been developed as the Internet of Things, which means all the sensors is not only the sensor by itself, but it also to be equipped with the communication capability. The communication capability means all the sensor has to send out different kind of information, and those kind of information will be able to have the machine readable, and also the human will be able to understand, or the person who's in charge of that incident, he has to inform some of the notice. So not only for the debris flow or for the landslide area, but in Taiwan, lots of the construction area, either the company or the owner of these constructions, they will sign some kind of facility used by the laborer who is doing the construction on site, like in his helmet, carry a certain kind of sensor. So the sensor will reflect if this working labor has been some kind of accident and fall down on the road or fall down in some kind of closed channel. So if this is a kind of cave operation engineering, so one of the worker, the labor is inside, so which might cause a lot of different kind of risk. So if his helmet can carry certain kind of facility as a small sensor, and also the entire closed channel can use some kind of gateway to send back all the information received as a very precise location, and also the accelerate, which means the movement of this worker. So once the movement of the worker reflect, like after 10 or 50 minutes, there is no movement, or is possibly fall down into the flat land, which means it's over a certain kind of elevation for certain minutes, then the entire sensor was sent back to someone in charge of the entire construction site security to send out some kind of alerting signal saying, okay, this worker might jump into some trouble, so you better take a look, or just check out, or just call him to see if he can reflect a certain kind of answering back. So this kind of things has already been applied in Taiwan in many of the construction sites. And we say this is kind of intelligent Internet of Things over the site safety monitor. So if this kind of on-site construction engineering will be able to use that kind of things, it's very good monitoring. So nowadays, the monitoring skill is not only send back the signal, but also to analyze. So which means all the sensors, they must be able to not only to see or to watch, but also analyze and send an alerting signal to someone who will be in charge of the entire area. So in Taiwan, there are lots of different kind of research from my university, from my research center. We're working on how this kind of image will be smart enough to identify there's some kind of bridge collapse, there's some kind of flooding area, or it's a high traffic, or there's some kind of car accident, or any kind of things. So if there is some kind of flash floods in the river, or the river level is too high, all this kind of camera can reflect back, and also the camera itself will be able to check if there is something happen. The way to let those camera to be smart enough to identify if there is something happen, we must set up some kind of software, not only the facility of the hardware, not only the CCTV, but the CCTV is equipped with certain ability to make his own analysis. So to find out if this is real. So in Taiwan, we try to work out with lots of different bureau or agency who's in charge of all this kind of CCTV monitoring camera along a lot of different places, like the bridge, like the water level, like the slope land, like the high mountain area. And we can receive thousands of those camera image in real time. And each camera, we have to show them how they can be smart enough to identify if there anything happened by the camera itself. So in Taiwan, all the sensors, for example, this is the sensor we have been worked together with Thermal Conservation Bureau to set up in lots of different slopeland in Taiwan. All this kind of facility or equipment has been set up in the Wild Creek area. And all this kind of sensor, they have to follow certain kind of standard because every sensor is produced by different company. So it doesn't matter which company produce what kind of sensor, as long as each sensor, they have to send out the same kind of alerting signal. They have to send out the same kind of warning signal. So we need to design, we need to follow some kind of, we say, international standard. So international wide for the Open Geospatial Consortium is one of the international organization who has been published a lot of international standards, especially toward those kind of sensors, like the sensor web enablement or wireless sensor network or the sensor things API. All this kind of standard in Taiwan, every sensor has to follow this kind of international standard. So then the entire communication depends on satellite communication or some kind of fiber or 5G or 4G or even 3G, or even some kind of like LoRa or NB-IoT. All these kind of different kind of communication equipped with the sensors together and following the international standard, all the information will be able to send directly to emergency operating center. So emergency operating center following either the prediction and two things. One thing is a prediction, and also some of the model or some of the algorithm as a threshold. And also for the real-time information, the real information directly sent back from the local, from the on-site. Then they make some kind of alert. And there has been developed a good platform to record and also to analyze those thousands of sensors together. And so it can monitoring and it can apply to the government, to the public, to the agents, and also to the academic to write a very, very good international journal paper and also to learn by each other and also to have some kind of international collaboration with some other country, because in Taiwan, all this kind of signal can send out and following certain kind of international standard and follow certain kind of communication. There are so many different kind of options of the communication. So follow all kind of international standard and send back to the center about the prediction things, about the on-site real information. Then the emergency operating center, the commander, will be able to decide for the final decision, to try to cope with the possible damage. So in Taiwan, all these kind of agencies, these are one of the agency or the local city government, lots of different kind of agency, the water resource agency, the high railway, and Thermal Conservation Bureau, Central Weather Bureau, lots of this agency, they have to work out together, use the international standard as we say common alerting protocol. So in Taiwan, we follow exactly, we set up a kind of Taiwan common alerting protocol, not only to the sensor, but also to those agencies and also to the communication technologies together. Then all this kind of information, so in Taiwan, the center, emergency operations center from the central government, they can receive on-site information directly from all the different agencies, all the different local city government, and using the same kind of common alerting protocol and send out the kind of, if you need to send out some kind of alerting things. So there are lots of this kind of information has been analyzed, has been learned by each event, each year. So in Taiwan, the entire process has been standardized for many, many years. And that's why Taiwan is really focused on how to smartly use different kinds of sensors and reflect the real-time information back. And also, lots of the central government, local city government, they relied on lots of different scholar or university or academic experts. They can provide their very, very good knowledge and some kind of model or algorithm to make good prediction, and also to compare with the real on-site information. Then the agency or the commander were able to send out the possible final decision. So this is how the entire process can be worked out. It depends on a lot of information, not only by the information from the satellite, but also the information by the historical information, and also information on site, and also all the different kind of sensor can send back all the real-time information. So in Taiwan, the disaster prevention and the response require the pre-disaster and under the disaster and after the disaster. So if there are any kind of disaster, we have to find how to recover. So everything will need a lot of information. Everything will need the work out together as an integration, as an interoperability. So all the sensor, all the information, all the different governmental bureau, they have to work out together. So the target is trying to minimize the possible casualty. Even though we cannot stop the earthquake, we cannot stop the landslide, we cannot stop the debris flow, we cannot stop the typhoon, we cannot stop the high wind chill, but we can try our best to minimize the possible damage caused by those nature phenomena. So this is very important, how the GIS and remote sensing and lots of different university and scholar and expert can work out together in Taiwan and try to produce a very good pre-disaster and also on disaster and also after disaster, the disaster prevention and disaster response. So for those kind of camera, if they require to have the camera to be smart enough, can really identify lots of information. For example, the camera has to learn by itself. So the camera will know this is a very normal type. This is the Wild Creek type. But that is the floods type. And that is the debris flow type. So all the camera, they need to know what means by the nothing happened or something is already happened and what kind of thing. So we need to labyrinth, we need to build a model, and then we need to display. So in Taiwan, we try to work out with lots of different scholars in Taiwan, try to work out how all the camera and also different sensors can be smart enough. So it can use different kind of deep learning algorithm. Like the CNN is one of the very popular deep learning algorithms. Like the CNN, this kind of algorithm, if all the CCTV, the camera can be equipped with the edge computing CNN algorithms, which means it can learn by itself. If there's event, if there's no event, then the camera itself would be able to learn by the camera itself. And so next time if something happened, it will send back directly alert to someone who's in charge. So nowadays we can also have the accuracy, but the accuracy there's some kind of, we say, omission error or commission error, which means we say or the camera say there are some event, but there is no event, or the camera say there's no event, but there are some events happen. So we try to minimize the error and also to increase the overall accuracy. So we need to have those cameras to learn about the ground truth. Like the camera itself needs to learn a lot of things. Like it has to learn by different kind of model, like GLCM is also one of the very common used model, just by different color of the water, like the white one and the dark one. By those kind of information, it can count about the velocity. And also we put some kind of velocity meter using different kind of technology on site. So this one and equipped with the camera itself. So the camera can learn if the camera can identify about the velocity, and we can use the real velocity identified by the sensors. So next time for these places, it's not necessary to put any kind of water velocity meter, which is very expensive, and also it still needs a lot of communication scale. So next time, if this camera can be very smart enough, this camera itself will be able to tell about what is the water velocity now, just by camera. So this is how the camera can be smart enough to learn to tell what is the velocity can be estimated by the GLCM and SVR, the supporting vector. So this kind of algorithm or this kind of model has been very popular today in this kind of deep learning process. So for all the CCTV to learn about how it can identify by different kind of images, like from the contrast, homogeneity, the entropy, the energy, and everything has a certain kind of formula. So those kind of formula can use that. So it's not just like human eye to see the CCTV's images, but the CCTV itself is equipped with certain kind of self-learning equation. So using those kind of formula or equation, we'll be able to identify about lots of things. So we can have this camera to learn by different kind of technology, like use the GLCM, use the SVR to predict, and also to make the estimation, and also to have the model when we adjust certain kind of parameter, the model itself regularly can really learn about. So next time, the sensors, this kind of CCTV can be really smart enough. So just use one camera, the camera will be able to identify the water level, the river, the water velocity, and if there something happen. So just using the image, it will be able to tell a lot of real-time happening mechanism from local. So this is the things, and this is the way we try to develop in the recent years. So following that, how we can say a city is smart enough, or how we can say a city is intelligent enough, it's the same thing. The core value of the smart city is still about the same thing, but as a smart city, it's trying to increase the well-being living standards and to have everyone to feel a better off living style. So for intelligent city, or we say smart city, means the city can really be smart enough, just like I mentioned about the disaster phenomenon. The camera nowadays can be very smart enough to tell if there's any disaster happening now and what kind of event it is. It's the same thing for the smart city. If we put enough sensors along the entire city area, we'll be able to monitor and we'll be able to tell what's happening inside the city. And as a city mayor or the city managers, then they can decide what should we do. And if this kind of implementation can really increase the better off of the local resident, or to create a more sustained environment for the entire living residents, then that can be called the smart city. So if we say the core value of the smart city, we have to say the same thing. It's a disaster one. We have to know what's happening in all the sites. If the sunshine is enough to have those kind of solar panel to create some of the solar power. If the air pollution is decreasing, if the entire atmosphere is good. So all those kind of information is still require a lot of sensors. So a lot of instruments, a lot of sensors, who is using the electricity now, or what kind of natural resources is needed, like interconnected. Then we can say it's intelligent. So for intelligent, there are so many different kind of aspects. We say very smart healthcare. So if there anything happen, the emergency operation from any hospital can go to the site, or can really just remotely to do a lot of diagnosis, or even for the medicine prescription. And for the smart agriculture, so the farmer will know when and where to grow the most suitable crop, or the most suitable vegetables, and when to irrigate, and if the fertilizer is enough already, and what kind of crop, what kind of fruit can be served as the best price in the market for the next 3 months. And also smart education. Can the student receive lots of this kind of information directly by the assist from different kind of online course, just like we now provide this kind of online course, which means I can sit in the Fengjiang University, sit on my office, and doesn't matter wherever you are, whoever you are, if you're interested to taking a course, you can learn the course just by yourself. Just checking, just logging into the website. Then you'll be able to learn the entire course. It's called smart education and smart governance, which means the city mayor or the different department chair or any kind of manager, they will be able to really make the city a very smart one, to have the local resident to feel they have a better off of their living. And smart transportation, if we can produce a less carbon emission to the air, but still can transport those kind of target cargo to certain people who buying the product. So the smart logistic, the smart transportation, and also the smart environment. If that's possible, to have a very, very low the PM 2.5 pollution, or we can have much, much good solar power, to have those solar panels to create higher electricity power. So all those kind of things, it need a very good resource investigation. It need a very good blueprint planning. And also, because it's among the cities, each city might have like millions or even 10 of millions of the local resident people. So it still needs some kind of city to have everyone to be a stakeholders. So if everyone is also the stakeholder, he or she will focus and also to treasure what they have now, and also to put good suggestion. So we need a kind of total solution. So this is a very good core value of the entire smart city. And also for the smart city nowadays, because the computing power now is increasing a lot. So we can make a very good big data analysis. We can make very good smart city application by using the kind of deep learning with artificial intelligence. Just like those kind of image can be analyzed by a very smart camera, by a very smart CCTV, to knowing what's happening now and to make very good alerting signal to someone, and then the manager will be able to put the full hand on charge. And also a very good training way, because nowadays there are so many different kind of training, and also create a lot of, we say, startup company. So there are lots of very good makers now in lots of those very good innovation, very good innovative companies along the entire nation now. For example, for one of the very smart device is very commonly used in the entire nationwide or even globally, is a UAV. So the UAV can produce the autopilot by GeoJSON. GeoJSON is one of the international standards. So enable the UAV to follow the already designed route. The UAV can be very smartly enough, can estimate or can create this kind of three-dimensional model or digital elevation model for slopland, or the entire 3D model for the entire city, or for certain building. So every information has their own attribute data, which means I know exactly if this is a good vegetation, or this is a bare land, or this is wild creek, and if this is the city, which building this is, and how many story it has, and what kind of land parcel zoning it is, and what about the land price, and what about this building, or the building information model can also be connected with the GIS model. So using the UAV and make all the things being possible. And also we can even produce a very good air pollution information directly by the UAV. So if the UAV can carry some kind of near infrared sensors up to the sky, then it can really identify if the entire city is being covered by different kind of pollution source, and also can emphasize either part. It has the higher concentration, or is a more polluted area by a certain kind of pollutant. So we can use UAV to identify lots of these kind of things. So UAV can also be one very good sensors. A UAV carry the thermal camera, then you can create some of the image we will not be able to see just by the by the red and green and blue, or by the human eyes. So those kind of information, just like this one, we can use a UAV to carry a thermal camera. And those kind of thermal camera, once it's equipped with the artificial intelligence, use the YOLO, means you look only once, the kind of free open source coding things. Then we're able to real-time identify if this is a car, if this is a person, if this is a truck, if this is a motorcycle. This image being taken just along my campus. So this is a new road construction just besides my campus near the Fengjia University. So we use the UAV. It doesn't matter if it's a daytime or nighttime, and connect it together with the AI model. Then the UAV, the sensors will be able to identify directly about the speed of the car, the speed of each target, and also what kind of target it is. So this is the way to make those kind of sensor is smart enough. Okay, so let's take a short break for about 10 minutes. Then I will start my next session about the smart transportation. So this is Tien-Yin Chou. I'm the Dean of the College of Construction Development in the Feng University. Welcome you to join this Intelligent City courses by the Taiwan Space Union. So let's take a short break for 10 minutes. Thank you. Okay, so I'll continue my lecture for the Intelligent City. So next one is about the smart transportation. Smart transportation is also one of the very important things happening in a smart city. So if a city call it a very, very smart city, it has to be a very smart transportation, because for this kind of transportation, it can be felt by all the local citizens. So if we say the smart transportation, we mean a lot of things. Like nowadays, there's a lot of autonomous vehicle can be driving with by itself, especially in the highway now. But for smart transportation is not only for the autonomous vehicle, but also it can very smartly to design the routing and to have better and also safer, and also for the fuel of the for some kind of gasoline consuming. So it needs and require lots of monitoring scale, monitoring sensors, and it still require a lot of like big data analysis services and those kind of management. So in Taiwan, there has been a lot of different kind of private company and also university trying to develop, we say, intelligent transportation and logistic management cloud. And using this kind of cloud technique for the driver, for the vehicle, for the goods, and we can control, or we can have good monitor before the duty and on the duty and after the duty. So there are lots of things can be put on as the sensors. For example, like in Taiwan, there are lots of truck carry different kind of trailer. So previously, for each trailer, it cannot record which the truck head is carrying the trailer. But now, automatically, once it's connected, the trailers, all the information is automatically joined together with the truck. And also, even for the tires and for lots of things. So before the duty, there are lots of historical information. There are lots of the kind of necessary routing scale. And in Taiwan, a lot of this kind of vehicle, especially for logistic vehicle, has been carried lots of different kind of sensors. For example, the GPS sensor to record all the exact location, and also the AC compressor, and if this logistic vehicle is opening or closing the gate correctly, or if there's a refrigerator inside, or there is a freezer inside, if the temperature is correct, and also about the camera, and also if it's putting the right turn signal before the right turn, put the left turn signal before the left turn, and lots of if it's overspeed or is stopping any kind of, it was not supposed to stop, or the back door is not closed safely, all this kind of information, not only by the logistic one, but for the emergency vehicle. So emergency vehicle, it can be very, very good dispatching technique, like to tell the driver about the routing now and how to get to the patient side. And also inside, it can discuss a lot of things, and not only for the driver, but also for the healthcare. So in Taiwan, lots of this kind of company try to develop a very good technique. For example, to identify if the driver is in a very good physical condition. If the driver feels too tired, he's fall asleep or just close his eyes for more than 2 seconds, or the driver is turn his vehicle to the right hand side but without any kind of safe turning signal first, or is now supposed to have a U-turn, supposed not to have a left turn, but still the driver is have a U-turn or left turn, or the driver is speeding. All these kind of things, we can put some sensors. We can put some sensor just in front of the driver's seat. The sensor will be able to identify the physical condition of the driver, and also there are lots of different sensors to carry it, and also to load the entire information of the entire vehicle. And also we can put certain kind of early warning of the distracting of the driver, or the driver is too tired, or some kind of possible collision, or some kind of possible speeding things. So in Taiwan, there has been already thousands of the trucks which carry certain kind of article, especially for the gasoline trucks, or some of the low radiation pollution trucks, or any kind of dangerous materials trucks. Or in Taiwan, lots of the logistic vehicle has already put this kind of intelligent transportation and logistic management cloud. So all the sensors inside and outside the vehicle can reflect back. So it can not only the real-time tracking, but all the recording thing, and also the real-time traffic information. Because of some other trucks can give some kind of good information about the roadside, and also the management analysis, and also lots of things about the dispatching, about the writing, about the best routing issues. All the things can be managed by all the sensors. Just put on the sensors for on duty. So for managers, can easily just carry a cell phone with him, and he can identify all the trucks in his company about the driving skill, about the behavior of the drivers, and about the location, and about all the movement of the entire truck, and also the driver. And it can automatically inform the manager if there is any kind of unusual movement, or there's any kind of things happening. So this kind of intelligent platform has been really widely spread out in Taiwan now. And also some of the private company, they even create the version for Thailand, for abroad, for Vietnam, or even in Japan. So in the world, there are lots of this kind of, we say, logistic transportation management cloud being produced by different private company. And those kind of company will be able to really monitor lots of things. Like before, like in Taiwan, all the driver's behavior and all the information about this vehicle, about this driver, is a hand making for certain kind of phone. But nowadays, all information can be automatically tracked, automatically recorded by all the smart facilities. So using all the smart facility, not only for the vehicle itself, but also for the driver. For all the driver, about his physical condition, about his blood pressure, and even for the diagnosis about the alcohol. All this kind of information can be recorded and can be really carried on together with all the vehicle he is driving or he used to drive. So everything can be connected and also can be created automatically. And even for the maintenance, like before, for the trucks in Taiwan, in the highway, before there's a things called recorder. So nowadays, everything has become a digital one. So digital driving recorder can have a very, very good information back, not only tracking about the vehicle itself, but also a lot of maintenance and also about the logistics, about the cargo, about the site, everything, even for the payment of the salary of the drivers, and lots of things will be able to put on the intelligent transportation and logistics management cloud. So this is real happening now in lots of places globally, and also in Taiwan, lots of the very good logistic company, they adopt this kind of cloud, and they can have very, very good economic benefit feedback, because it can lower down the possible damage because of the accident, because of the speeding, because of the unusual left turn or some kind of unusual U-turn. So all this kind of facility will be able to lower down the possible risk. So using a very good way, like we use the Power BI to create this kind of to create this kind of monitoring screen. So it's very easily to monitor, just use the dashboard to monitor the entire company's condition, or just each vehicle condition, or each driver's condition. So we'll be able to count a lot of things, directly put on the things together. Like in Taiwan, one of the private company has been spin off from the Fengyao University. This company is doing a lot of things for the logistic. So in Taiwan, there are several most famous supermarket, or we say grocery store. It's a chain store grocery store, like 7-Eleven or Family Mart, and all the logistic, and also lots of the cargo transport for the gasoline and also the emergency rescue things, and also the truck, and lots of things can be monitored and also can be put as a smart transportation, and it can create good logistic ways. So in Taiwan, make logistic more economical and also simple and safer is one of the things how we can create a smart transportation. So this is one of the smart transportation will be able to create just by the same kind of things. Just like the sensors we put on the Wild Creek, the sensor we put on some of the sites, and the sensor is smart enough. It's the same way. We put the different kind of sensor in the vehicle. We put a different kind of sensor can reflect different kind of information. Using all those kind of information, we can make a better management for the entire transportation company. So that is why lots of this kind of logistic and transportation company, they try to adopt a very good transportation management system. And also for the smart agriculture is also one of very, very important issue as a smart city. Because farmer always ask when or where or what kind of crop do I need to irrigate? And if I can get a very good high economic feedback by this kind of growing, because we know nowadays in globally, or the farmers are really, really hard working person. So if we can use some kind of good high technology to try to produce a better farming environment for the farmers. Taiwan is also suffering about the farmland has been decreased because of the living habitat need, and also the high price of the land zoning price as a commercial or industrial or residential area. So the Taiwan has we say nationwide land management policy to ensure the food security and to ensure some of the very good, the best farmland can be kept as a farmland. But how can we use some kind of good technology as a smart agriculture, trying to produce the better farming, either the farming technology and also the feedback to the farmers. So that's very important. So can we make some kind of good decision as agricultural disaster warning and for some statistic analysis and production and sales warning and agricultural land management, just like what we did for the disaster? If we can have some kind of historical information, we can have some kind of prediction model, algorithm, put on together with the real-time information by the local sensors, we can make good decision to reduce the possible damage from nature disaster. Same thing as agriculture. If we can have some kind of historical information, we can have some good information back, we can have some kind of good weather prediction. A lot of agriculture productivity still depend on the weather. If there is excess of the rainfall, or if it's possible to have a drought, or we can have some kind of irrigation, then what is the amount of the suitable irrigation amount? And what is the suitable fertilizers can put on to the local farmland? So those are very important for the artificial information decision support. So in Taiwan, as this one, we try to create some kind of agricultural disaster warning for the local farmers. So try to have the local farmer can check on the website, can have some kind of warning assistant. For example, we work together with local central bureau and local weather sensors. So we can have some kind of like today's forecast by different models and make a crop warning about, because if it's going to rain or not, if there is possible for high temperature or low temperature. If today we'll have excess of the rainfall, or there will be a typhoon coming. So the weather forecast and warning display platform is very, very important, just like the way we did for the disaster pre-warning things. So there can be warning detail. If you're trying to plant certain kind of crop in certain area, you have to watch out about the possible heat, or you have to watch out about the possible wind chill, or the excess of the rainfall, or the drought problem. So this is the kind of information we'll be able to provide to those local farmers. And all the kind of platform will be able to have the farmers to check about the historical information. Which farmland has been produced what kind of crop in the past year? And what is the total amount for the local farmer to get to know what is the total amount for the nearby cropland to grow certain kind of crop? Because the farmers will need to know what kind of crop will be needed in the market after the harvest, like after 3 months, after 4 months. So the model should be able to make some kind of prediction. And the model itself will be able to check who is growing what kind of crop nearby. So there are a lot of analysis we'll be able to use by the government or the private company trying to produce a very good information to the farmers. So the farmers today in Taiwan is a smart farmers. We say because all the farmers, they try to use a lot of things, try to avoid any kind of possible damage because of the weather, because of the market, because of the information. So lots of things. So we say the GIS and remote sensing can produce lots of very, very useful information for the farmers. Just like anywhere else in the world, the farmers in anywhere else in the world are a lot of time they don't equip with very modern facilities. But now all the farmers in Taiwan, they know they need to get more accurate and more useful information from the local, from the site. So even for the daily price changes in the open market, in the local city or in the central city or in the private company, what is the local daily price for different kind of crop? Daily changes, monthly changes, or only average, or compare with the last year, or compare with last month, or the kind of vegetable, or different kind of fruits or vegetable, everything. So on the system itself, if we say the smart agriculture, then the system would require to get to know what's the daily price fluctuation been changed. So they would know like where and how and compare with last year and what is the cost to produce this kind of fruit, this kind of vegetable. So lots of this kind of transaction, lots of this kind of crop sale, lots of this kind of things, information can be very easily to be displayed on the screen, just by the system itself. So there are lots of production and sales warning things, and also the primary crops pricing analysis, and even for the forecast. All the farmers love this kind of forecast because the farmer would like to know, what if my hard working effort can produce the highest economic return? So he would like to know about the forecast, but how can we make the forecast? Then we need to have some kind of historical information. We need to have the market price changes. Then we can grow, we can model the possible forecast of certain kind of fruit, certain kind of vegetable, certain kind of crop. So these are very necessary and needed for lots of the farmland and for those kind of farmer to grow their crop. But in Taiwan, as I mentioned about, lots of the land zoning is depend on the price of the land. So if the land zoning becoming the commercial land use or industrial land use or residential land use, the market land price will be changed dramatically. So there are a lot of, we say, either illegal land use. They try to use the farmland as different type of land use, like for factory, for industrial use, even for residential use, because the farmland is always the cheapest price in the market, and lots of farmland, they will not be allowed to be used by other kind of land use because the government trying to sustain certain kind of food security. So there are certain places, certain farmland has to stay as a farmland. But still, there are lots of illegal uses of those kind of land use. So the GIS will be very helpful for the government to check on if this violate the land zoning policy, and also the kind of farmland compensation management. Like if this land has to be sustained as the farmland, and compared with the other land can be changed to the residential land use, the price is completely different. The price will be different by tens or even hundreds times of the price. So can there be any kind of compensation as this land can be sustained as a farmland? So this is also a very good challenge for any local government or for the central government. So we can produce some kind of intelligent dashboard. So this kind of intelligent dashboard can be used by the local city managers or by the Department of Agriculture in certain county, because it can get to know who is using which farmland as doing what kind of things, and also about the market price, and also about the possible risk of all this kind of places, all this kind of agricultural land use has been used. So what a customer can prepare. Self-provider system in the basic resources. So auditing agricultural information is one of the very, very, very important things. Nowadays, there are lots of innovation company in Taiwan. So in Taiwan, before most of those farmers are getting aged, but now there are lots of young farmers. The reason for those young farmers to join us from farm productivity is they can use very good high technology. They can use the GIS map. They can use the remote sensing information. They can use the sensors information. And they can do a lot of things. They can get to know where, when to do a lot of things. So in Taiwan, the government trying their best to have some kind of agricultural surveying and the map data things. And we can still like auditing if this information is correct by the government. And also the local or even some new initiated, the new makers, the new companies for the young farmers now, they can create some kind of map data auditing. But still the same thing. Lots of information has to be standardized. Not only by some of the information flow to be following some kind of standardized information, just like I mentioned about for the disaster sensors to be standardized, or the data flow to be standardized, the communication or the analysis has to be standardized, but also even for each specific fruit name of the species name has to be standardized. Because even we say tomato, there are so many different species of the tomato. So if we try to put into the database sources, we have to standardize different kind of tomato. Different kind of species of tomato can resist different kind of precipitation needed or water needed, or it can resist certain kind of drought, or it can produce different kind of tomato. And in the market, it's different kind of price. So are there any more application? Of course. We say we can make a lot of open data matching. Like in Taiwan, as I mentioned about, not only for the disaster, but lots of the smart transportation, the smart agriculture, and lots of smart application among the entire, we say, smart city. There are lots of information can be sharing together, like the synchronization of the file and the data matching. And if everyone is following certain kind of standard, then we can very easily exchange a lot of information. So in Taiwan, there's a lot of good innovation, new company by the new farmers and the younger farmers. They can create a good agriculture database, use the data module. And they can guide the farmers, or they can become farmers. to farm certain area. Even there is a very, very good application by the UAV. Like the UAV not only carries some kind of sensor, the UAV can do some seed spreading. For example, like certain kind of trees to be growth in certain landslide area to ensure there's some kind of vegetation. It's not a bare land. It can prevent some of the further landslide. So the UAV will be able to carry the kind of seed parcel. So this kind of very, very good seed, each seed parcel will be able to drop just carried by the UAV and up to those kind of high mountainside, or it's not easy to go there, just use the UAV. So the UAV nowadays can do so many things. Even for the land use, like for different month, the land use can be changed. So is the land use is correctly or not? And also, even for this kind of crop or this kind of trees, we can possible to do a very, very good three-dimensional modeling things. And we can count the tree's entire information, not only by the tree height, but lots of information. Like now, we say each tree can have certain kind of source of the carbon dioxide emission. So if we want to have the zero carbon emission to the air, then we have to know each tree's information. Even today now in Taiwan, there are even certain company, they try to have this kind of carbon dioxide capture technology by the different kind of tree and join together with some kind of blockchain technologies to create certain kind of system. And you can do the kind of trading. We say the carbon dioxide capture trading system by using the blockchain, by use the 3D modeling, by use of the identification of each tree. So nowadays, that agriculture information nowadays is not only by the farmers to do the agriculture productivities in previous or ancient way, but now the agriculture information can require good information and platform and making good data processing and displaying system, so the farmer can get more and higher economic return compared with the previous farming style. So the farmer and also can make a very good sustained environment. So that session I'm going to talk about is a sustainable environment. So when we say the smart city, when we say the intelligent city, it's not only for the better off and for the entire resident, but also as one of the citizens globally, we have the duty to sustain our environment. So nowadays, if we say the sustainable agriculture, sustainable environment, it's the same thing. We talk about resource management, renewable energy, smart agriculture, environmental management. And it requires a lot of things. It requires good air quality, it requires the green and water spaces, require the emission monitoring, the waste management, the energy efficiency, and pollution reduction. And enable to achieve each goal, you need good sensor, you need good algorithm, you need good equation, you need good model, you need good mapping skill, application, promotion, and use good strategies. For example, in Taiwan, the government tried to produce a very good solar power can be applied, enable the solar power to be promoted. It's very necessary to produce some kind of energy maps And to create an energy map, we require the UAV. We require the building shading. We require if this building can create a very good solar power because it has very good solar energy during the daytime. It's possible. So all this kind of thing, we can create much better sustained environment. Even for the smart agriculture, the agriculture monitoring decision support using the IoT, we can create much better sustained environment. So use all this kind of information. Even in Taiwan, lots of the village has been going through certain kind of, we say, village regeneration, which means a lot of village in Taiwan has been suffered by the aging of the village people and lacking of the good innovation motive. But now in Taiwan, the government and the local village people trying to work out together to creating, for example, if they're good ecotourism, to create a very good tourist information to attract more tourists come to this village and to consume and to learn about and to go to the nature, to enjoy the nature. So each local village try to have local regionalization and try to develop its own unique local either productivity or some kind of ecotourism, unique things. So as I mentioned about, if we try to make a lot of things, this is the third course. I speak in the course we designed by the Taiwan Space Union. So I mentioned about the smart city. I mentioned about how we can use good GIS technologies and how we can make a very good platform. Because for all the smart city, it requires sensors, require the cloud-based, require lots of things. So it can provide a good environment. So not only use lots of things, but before, even for the kind of heritage preservation, we can use the kind of UAV, the kind of handheld LiDAR to create entire good 3D monitoring things. And to have tourists, no need to go to the temple, but he can enjoy the inside the temple. And also to check and also to monitor lots of things. So not to monitor about a natural disaster or the driver, but also the building, also the heritage. And we can do a lot of things just using the kind of technologies. So this concludes my course for the entire afternoon. Thank you very much for your listening. I think I can have some spare time because some of the participants for the previous course, they refrain, they would like to have some more time to ask some question. So you're welcome to ask any question. If there are any question, any participants in the class would like to ask any question, I'll be happy to answer some question to you. So it's open to all the participants who is listening to the course now. Are there any question raised by the audience or the participants? Okay, if there's not, I'll still be glad to receive any kind of information, feedback, or anything you like to ask, I think the Taiwan Space Union, you can receive my email address very easily. So you can very easily to send anything feedback to me. So I get the streaming control back to the Space Union. I think they can put on the screen about some of the quiz question. I have already produced 2 quiz questions to you to answer, and you can have some kind of questionnaire back about the entire course. So I give the controlling back to the Space Union.
Okay, thanks for Professor Zhou. Now I show my screen. Okay. Everyone, please write down your answer for these 2 questions. And if you have any question, please write down in this Google form